Hello and welcome. Radiooddity contacted me last week, and I think it was last week, about a week ago anyway, and asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing one of their latest GMRS radios, GMRS FRS. I guess technically this can only be GMRS because the antenna is detachable. FRS is supposed to have a fixed antenna. This has 5 watts, and if you hook it up to an external antenna, it's going to seriously increase the range. But the package arrived the other day. The box is a little beat up, but we'll see what's inside here. The radios appear to have survived, and we've got our owner's manual. And I was expecting a radio. I got 2 radios. They sent 2 of them, a package of 2, and asked me if I could do a review versus the TID Radio H3 that I did a while back. And see, the TID is quite a bit smaller. The screen's a little smaller as well. And I said, sure, I'll take a look at it. Now, this is a 2500 milliamp hour battery, as is the little H3. So they're going to be fairly well matched from a battery longevity standpoint, I would hope. I'm going to have to put a full charge on these batteries. I imagine they've got some charge in them already. They usually do to some extent, but it's usually a good idea to go ahead and give everything a full charge. And the batteries are held on with a screw. That's interesting. Most of these sets these days have a little lever, a little slide latch. These are actually held on with a screw. I should probably get a real screwdriver, but let's see if there's any power in it. There is, and it's about half charged. So I'm going to charge these up, and we will try to do a little bit of an A-B comparison between the two here. Slip this battery in. And I haven't got a screwdriver here on the bench. Let me go grab a screwdriver, which would be a smart thing to do, rather than taking a chance on bending my Brown and Sharp scale. Yeah, it's got a ways to go in yet. That's something I haven't seen in a long time, is a screw-in battery. And we'll get this one attached as well and get these things charged up. You can charge these via USB-C, as you can with the TID, or the TID Radio H3 is also USB-C or drop-in charger. And I'm assuming there's a drop-in charger here from the size of the box. What do we got? There's, Kenwood style connector, and this looks like to be the programming cable. We've got a microphone, headphone, another microphone. We have a wall wart. Whoa! Antenna almost poked my eye out. 2 different bands of antenna. Another earphone. This is a USB-C charging cable. Another USB-C charging cable. Another wall wart. And it looks like the drop-in charger would be an accessory. We got a couple of lanyards here too. It's always nice to have those. I always put those on the radio so they don't end up falling off the boat or falling off the face of a ledge if you're walking along the ledge and you get distracted. If that slipped around your wrist, you won't drop the radio. A couple of belt clips. And let me get some of this assembled, get the batteries charged up, and we'll take it from there. Couple of more observations I've made here as I'm spreading things out on the table. This is more than an earphone. This appears to be a dual earphone. No, I guess that's just a spare phone rubber, but it's an earphone microphone combination. It's got a push to talk button on it, and it's got holes for a microphone. So it's basically a headset with push to talk features and the speaker mic. The speaker mic has a little LED for transmit. That's kind of handy, having the transmit function right there on the earbud if you like using the earbud. Oh, and I just noticed that the chargers, the wall warts, have a red indicator light. Is that visible? I'm not sure. Let's see here. I think this is in the way, perhaps. Yeah, I guess that's visible. There's a red LED indicator on the wall warts that A, tells you it has power, and I don't know, I imagine this red one is going to turn green when it charges fully. I don't know if the wall wart will. Let's see. It'll take me forever to find it in the manual, so we'll cover that shortly. We'll find out. But while it's charging, I figure I can get the belt clips mounted using my genuine JIS screwdrivers. That's Japanese industrial standard, and if you folks out there have been struggling or been using Phillips screwdrivers on these import radios, do yourself a favor. I resisted buying these for years, figuring, what difference could it make? Can't be that different. It's enormously different. Look how that fits, and that's not because it's magnetic, it's just a good fit on the screwdriver. So it makes all the difference in the world with the screws. You don't mar up the head of the Phillips or the head of the JIS screw when you're using these screwdrivers. They're just such an excellent fit. They don't cam out. Of course, I'm screwing in the plastic here, so I'm being careful, but they don't cam out like a Phillips would on a JIS screw. After I bought these screwdrivers, I went around kicking myself for 2 days saying, why didn't you buy these things 30 years ago? This is Perfect Grip, made in Japan. These are actually Japanese made screwdrivers, and as you know, the Japanese make excellent tooling and equipment. I can remember everybody disparaging them back when I was in high school, but we've quickly learned that Japanese workmanship is second to none. This unit also has a flashlight on the top of it, or both of these do, as does the TID radio. And when I initially started seeing these import radios come in with a flashlight on the top, I'm like, yeah, right. But I will admit that I have been won over by that. I can't tell you lately how many times I've grabbed for a radio at night and used the flashlight function that's on it. It's pretty darned handy. It was kind of like when I got my Mercury Grand Marquis with the keyless entry. I said, another toy. But boy, that saved my butt several times. And I was very glad it was on there. And now I love having that feature on the vehicle, being able to get in just by punching a code. When I go out on the boat or whatever, I just throw everything, my keys, everything in the car, in the trunk, and lock it. And when I come back, punch the code in, get my keys out of the trunk. Or out of the boot, for those of you over there on the other side of the pond. Do they call it the boot in Australia? I'm not sure. I know they do over in England. Well, I'm going to get something to push that through, and we're going to have to wait a little while for the batteries to charge, and we'll pick it up from there. Here's a little trick that might end up saving somebody some grief. The hole here for the lanyard goes down and turns, and you can't push the lanyard down through just by pushing on the string. I got a little piece of bus wire and tried to go up through there, but because of the turn it didn't want to make it, so I ended up using one of these. You've seen these toothpicks, they have a little bit of floss on the other end. and the tip is kind of flexible, so I'm able to push it down in there and it goes right around the corner and sticks out the other side, and you can grab a hold of it if you have any fingernails there and pull it up. I struggled with this for a few minutes until I figured out what to use. And now we have our lanyards on here. Okay, battery's fully charged and the green LED is lit on battery packs themselves, but the indicator on the charger stays red, so that's just the power on indicator. Still handy. I like the idea of having those red indicators. It's a quick visual indication that, one, you have power, and two, you've left one plugged in if you're not using it. All of these antennas of the different length are all listed to operate at the same frequency. This is probably like a 1/4 wave, and this is probably like a 1/2 or 5/8 wave. This is going to be a little bit more efficient antenna for distance, but most people are probably going to elect to use the little guy. But if you're out hunting, out in the woods, out four-wheeling with your buddies, you might want to think about using this antenna, or if you're in a vehicle, use a mag mount on the roof with an adapter. You'll get a lot more range. Coverage on these is probably going to be a couple of miles at best in heavily wooded areas. Real hilly terrain, it might be less. If it's open terrain, 10-15 miles is possible. Mountaintop to mountaintop, I've talked from the top of Mount Washington into Boston, which is over 100 miles. If you have enough elevation and line of sight. These are UHF radios. These only operate on, or transmit on, the GMRS frequencies, whereas this little guy over here operates, once it's unlocked, this will transmit on ham bands, VHF, marine VHF, 220 megahertz ham band, 70 centimeter ham band, and the GMRS frequencies as well, which are UHF, very close to the 70 centimeter ham bands. Nice little radio. I really like this guy. The more I played with it, the more I liked it. This guy has 200, I believe it's 200 memory channels, and 199 memory channels. This guy has 1,000, 10 banks of 100. And I can't imagine ever using that many. I can't keep track of the 200 channels that are in this radio, but it's there if you need it. This radio is $29 and comes with a couple of accessories and the charging stand. Okay. You get a lot of accessories, as I was saying. I'm having trouble with my computer, and my software has been crashing, so I'm making a dog's breakfast of this, unfortunately. For less than $40 a piece, when you buy the pair of them, it's a very cost-effective option for GMRS radios. And if you're not a ham, you won't miss having all of the ham band stuff. If you're not licensed to be a ham, who cares if these don't operate in the ham bands? I believe they do if they're unlocked, or there's another version of it. I find it hard to believe they made two different versions of the radio. It's got to be a software thing, because the European versions listed as working on ham VHS as well as the 70 centimeter GMI and the GMRS band. There's a lot of information out there about unlocking the GM30 and the GM30 Plus. Those are two different radios. Those are not the GM30 Pro. These are the latest version out with the larger battery packs, different color scheme. And some people online say this is the same thing. You know, TID Radio makes all of these, and it's the same thing as the Baofeng. And I don't know. I can't speak to that. But I can find no specific information on unlocking these radios. Now, in a month or two, that may exist online. And please don't send me all kinds of links for programming the GM30 and the GM30 Plus. That does not transfer to this radio. These are a different radio, different battery packs. Now, as well as all of the frequencies I've listed for transmit, they have multi-band reception. They'll receive FM broadcast. They'll operate from, well, the TID radio will work on the 6-meter handband receive, and then it picks up 76 to 108 and 108 to 136, which is roughly, you know, a lot of that's the FM broadcast band, as does this. This does the FM broadcast band receive. It'll receive the ham band, 136 to 174. It'll receive there. It'll receive the 220 megahertz ham band, but it won't transmit there. And of course it transmits and receives on the FRS, GMRS frequencies, and then above that it'll operate up to 520 megahertz receive. This will go up to, they claim, 600 megahertz receive. Oh, they also do aircraft band. They do air band receive, which is kind of a nice feature. I like sitting down at the airport, or I did when I was working. We'd go out for lunch and sit there and turn on the air band and listen to the aircraft come and go. And sometimes when I'm here in the shack, I'll just turn on one of my scanners or one of these and listen, you know, to the approach and at Manchester Airport here in New Hampshire. They have all of the functions you'd expect today on a modern handheld radio. DTMF, PL, dual watch, wireless, Bluetooth, and programmability. They can clone back and forth. They have, did I say Vox? They have Vox, which is real handy. I use Vox a lot if I'm doing tower climbing. I put on a boom microphone with an earphone, and that way I'm hands-free. I communicate with the ground crew and talk to them back and forth. USB-C charging and programming via this special cable, whereas the TID radio will do USB charging and USB-C programming as well. This one has two different USB-C ports, one on the bottom and one here under this cover on the side where you do the USB-C programming. And this one came with the drop-in charger. Nothing's been released on these yet that I can find online for a drop-in. But the USB-C on the back for the charging is right here, and you plug in the Kenwood style programming cable here to program these. I'm not going to go through all the software and programming. It's pretty much the same game with all of these. You download a software, you can type in, you know, it's like a spreadsheet type of thing. Excellent FM radio reception on both of these. In fact, here's a clip I'm going to throw in that I did earlier while we still had, before the conditions changed as the sun went down. So listen to this and I'll be back. Okay, I attempted to demonstrate the FM receive capabilities of these yesterday, and I waited too long to do it. It was after the sunset and band conditions had changed. I'm in a valley and I'm in the basement, so in the evening FM reception down here just disappears. But both of these radios do an exceptionally good job. This is the local NPR.
And I think my biggest initial thought is like, oh, I can see how this is going to spark massive conversation, and it's such a nuanced topic.
Not bad at all.
With so much care, and I can see how that's going to be mixed in a lot of places.
And we'll do a comparison here with the TID.
very specifically body shamed over the years, even as she kept winning Grand Slams, picking up Olympic medals, stunning the
This
tennis
thing's got
world.
enough volume to
Can you
hear
talk
under
a little
any
bit
condition.
about that sort of constant public?
This one is ample for 99% of the places you'll be.
Having her be this high-performing athlete that is achieving all of these things, and
It's definitely got a more
so much,
deeper tone to it than the TID.
Conversation to the fact that she's being called a gorilla and has always been hypersexualized. All of those things play a really important part in the conversation we're having. And so I think that when we're talking about this conversation of her usage of GLP-1s to make her body smaller, I also can see why that.
So, definitely plenty of audio available and a decent sounding speaker. This is a real step up from some of these earlier radios where they didn't have enough volume and very, very raspy sounding audio. These are nice and clean. I didn't notice if it in the specs if it had, let's see, receiver rated audio power, output power, 3/4 of a watt. More than sufficient. Absolutely fine. Okay, as you can see, they both have decent audio and actually sound pretty good considering the size of the speakers that are in these little radios. Oh, they all do NOAA weather radio. And on this one, it's a one button press down here at the bottom. And I don't know if we're going to get it this time. There it is.
This is NOAA, the radio station WXJ40 broadcasting on a frequency of...
And they have all of the NOAA stations pre-programmed. You just up and down. You can step through them to find your local NOAA weather station. That noisy reception is not the fault of the radio. It is because I am in the basement, and this is, NOAA's a VHF transmitter on the other side of a mountain from me, so it's going to sound a little scratchy. The fact that I get it all down here. Now this one, to get to the NOAA weather, I have to press menu and number 8. And why didn't it change?
Menu.
Oh no, that's for the FM, excuse me. How the heck do I get to NOAA? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. This set here does do NOAA, and it must be one of my memory channels.
Welcome.
VFO.
Channel mode.
There we go. This is probably
20, 20, 20, 20, 23, 24, 29.
Whoops, not wrong way.
20, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12.
Well, I thought it was one of those channels. I don't know. At any rate, they both do NOAA weather radio. It's not a demonstration of this one. It's a talking about this guy. What else should I cover here? Oh, I've tested these radios. They're listed as being a sensitivity of minus 120 dBm. What's that, down around 12.12 microvolts, and they beat the spec handily. They'll go down to almost 123, 124 dBm, and you still have a usable signal on them. I did that with a calibrated signal generator. All of these radios perform exceptionally well on receive. I did a spectral analysis of the transmit on these, and I was blown away at how clean the 70 centimeter or the GMRS signal is. I can't even see a second harmonic spike on these. They are just absolutely pure and clean. This radio is not bad, but this has a better spectral purity on the transmitter. This one's pretty good on VHF ham and on 70 centimeters, but on 220 it's kind of dirty. I actually feel a little guilty about using it on 220. It's down about 40 dB, but not bad on the other bands. But these were just absolutely blow my mind clean. I put them on the spectrum analyzer, and they're just spotless, very good transmitters. They're doing much better these days with these offshore radios. And I marked on here battery RL19 when I was trying to find a drop-in charger for these. Radiooddity has a nice 6 or is it 8 position, I can't remember now, drop-in charger for the GM30. So if you have several of these, you can just drop them all in and it'll simultaneously charge them. But evidently they haven't released one for these yet. Oh, antennas. Let's talk a little bit about antennas. I'm going to throw another video clip in here. Okay, I dug around a little bit and going to give you a little bit more on the displays here. This radio, now I have big text up here and it tells me what 2 bands I have active down here. If I press the bottom transmit button, it goes down to this frequency. Now this isn't something I can transmit on, so it cancels it. But if you go up here, then I transmit on that frequency. By using the 2 different buttons on the side, it just automatically selects the 2 different frequencies that are in there. You can have a primary and a secondary. So that's not hard to read. That's a fairly decent display there. The Radiooddity has got also a very good display. And you have P1 and that, whoop, wrong button, wrong button, I'm a dummy. Okay, P1, and when I hit, it transmits on this frequency, and when I hit P2, it transmits on that frequency, and you can see what that display looks like. The TID is a little bit brighter, but I think that's certainly adequate. It's certainly very readable on a good size text. Just figured I'd add that in. Okay, I'm going to break in here and we'll have a brief discussion on mobile antennas. Don't buy a cheap one. It's like putting cheap speakers on a stereo set. You know, you can have a small low power stereo receiver, but if you put decent speakers on it, it performs fairly well. But you could take a $5,000 receiver, and if you put $10 speakers on it, it doesn't perform well. The antenna is the speakers for your radio, and when you're working with a 5-watt handheld, you want the best speakers you can get. So if you're in a vehicle, using it in a vehicle, and this is going to simulate your car roof, I'm quite the artist, I know, spend a little money and get one of the ones that has a loading coil somewhere like this in the center. And the reason for that is it puts the antenna above ground. It's a phasing section, and it's going to give you a lower angle of radiation. I'm not going to go into full antenna theory here because I'll just put everyone to sleep. If you buy a cheapo quarter wave one, which would stop about here, your angle of radiation is something like this. You're sending a lot of your energy up to heat the clouds. A 5/8 wave up here would give you a somewhat lower angle of radiation, but if you have one that has this isolation coil or this phasing coil in the center of it, you can get your angle of radiation so that your 5 watts of power is going out. Another problem with cheap antennas is they have cheap coax, which means most of your 5 watts ends up heating the cable and not being radiated. A good antenna, you know, something $30–40 typically is going to have decent low loss coax so that most of your energy gets to the antenna. But don't be fooled. There's a lot of counterfeits being sold right now on Amazon. People are buying them thinking they're Midland antennas, which Midland used to make some really good antennas, but they're offshore copies. They're not one-piece antennas like shown in the picture. They have poor connections and people are sending them back left and right. In fact, Amazon's got warnings up, often returned items. So again, remember, the antenna is the speakers for your system, and it's what really can make it shine or make it a dud. Oh, and one other thing. If you're out hiking, say 2 of you are out in the woods and you're starting to get, you know, intermittent reception, dropping in, dropping out, and you're starting to lose contact, these radios have a squelch setting. Turn your squelch setting down to the lowest value One, if you can get away with it, where it's not popping open all the time and you're not getting a lot of background noise. And if you do start running out of range, turn the squelch off completely, and you should be able to copy a little bit better on a very weak signal. Turning your squelch off, you know, if you're on the fringe of reception and it's important to get the message through, sometimes just turning the squelch off will allow you to carry on a conversation. It'll be noisy, but you'll be able to get the conversation through. Something to keep in mind. It might save your life someday. But again, spend a little extra money on an antenna. Make sure you get a good one, because a good one's going to make all the difference. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay. These longer antennas are going to give you more range. How much more is going to depend on the terrain and, you know, conditions, yada yada yada. There's 1,000 factors that affect how far you're going to get, but generally speaking, these closer to 5/8 wave antennas are going to do a better job of getting your signal out. Inside the car, all bets are off. Nothing works that well from inside the car unless you're very close proximity to another vehicle. If you're going, you know, like say you're out in the Midwest somewhere, out in Utah or something, and running around on the sand dunes in a couple of buggies, you're going to want an external antenna. And no, you can't use a CB whip type antenna. They are not resonant at these bands. These are a specialized antenna for UHF. And like I said in that little video clip, spend a little extra money, get a decent antenna. What else? Can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think it's a great package deal. Somebody looking for a couple of good solid feeling. These really do feel rugged. They're nice and beefy. They feel good in the hand. And oh, waterproofing. I didn't see anything in here about waterproofing, but they appear to be fairly splash resistant. But I didn't see anything in the book, and I went back through it a couple of times looking to see if there was any water resistance specs in there. Definitely, I wouldn't drop these in the water. I wouldn't expect the speakers to survive, but you should be able to withstand, you know, a light rainstorm, I would think. The speaker mics are great to have if you're out hiking. You got a backpack. You clip this on the backpack with the long antenna, so it's behind you and out of the way. And you clip this on the collar of your shirt, and you got the speaker right next to your ear, and if your buddy calls you up from, you know, a different hilltop or whatever, you're able to get right back in contact with them. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up, and I want to say thank you again to Sherry for sending these along. I am truly impressed. As much as I tend to be prejudiced against buying these extremely inexpensive and subsidized radios, they are doing a good job. You know, I have to grudgingly say these guys are doing, they are upping their game greatly these days. And the fit, form, and function of these is very nice. Everything fits well. The little gaskets fit tight. It's impressive. For the price point, it's almost impossible to beat. Okay, so hope somebody out there found some of this interesting or useful, or at least a little informative. And again, if anybody knows specifically how to unlock the 30 Pro, P-R-O, it has to be the Pro, drop me a note, and I'd be interested to see if there is a way to do it. They may not. To make these compliant, they may have upped their game there too and said, no, we're not going to allow you to do that, because technically this radio is not FCC compliant, being able to operate on all those bands without having a type acceptance. It's just the fact that they put the ability in this one to just go in there with a couple of key presses and boom, you've opened the radio up. I have a ham license. I'm allowed to operate on 70 centimeters. I'm allowed to make my own equipment, so we can get away with that. But if you don't have a ham license, these are a good second alternative. And the GM RS license is simple, super simple. You go online, you fill out an application, You electronically pay them, a couple days later in the mail the license shows up and it's good for your whole family. Okay, that's it. Take care. See you soon.